Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation. I'm Jeff, and today on episode 110, we're checking out every new indie game releasing for the Nintendo Switch from April 11th through the 17th. After that, we'll head over to the eShop and find a few of the week's best deals to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced. Nindie Nation hits YouTube each and every Tuesday, and there's an audio-only podcast feed that is hosted by our friends at the Nintendo Village. You can find us on Twitter and Discord if you want to keep the indie conversation going, and every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, we have Nindies at Night, where we stream some of the week's newest Nindies over on Twitch. Links to everything are in the YouTube description, and if you appreciate what we do here, your like, subscribe, and sharing with others goes a long way to help us grow. Despite our best efforts to cover every new indie release, some titles just seem to pop up in between episodes. So to kick off episode 110 of Nindie Nation, let's start by taking a look at the 8 neglected Nindies that released since episode 109. With the latest magical adventure of finding hidden objects and solving mini-puzzles, 5BN Studios' Lost Lands 3: The Golden Curse is like taking the artwork of a grocery store romance novel and blending it with the children's magazine highlights. There's a demo if you need to see more, and it dropped for $6.99. And Jim drops another VR but not really VR anime camping game for $21. This one's called Laid Back Camp Virtual Fumoto Campsite. I'm glad the description calls out that this game has different content than the last one, cause from what I'm seeing, you could have fooled me. In case you were wondering what the next game by Mino Dev and
Nihonichi
is, they describe it as
Maiden Spell is a one-on-one magical girl aerial projectile battler.
It's kind of a neat concept, if not too pricey at $12.99. The art style is a weird mix of 2D and 3D, and the core gameplay is like a bullet hell shmup, but laid out like a fighting game. Oh did you know Exploding Kittens came to the Switch? Sorry about that, I got really excited. So, Exploding Kittens is a card game that all of my elite tabletop friends say is
oversimplified garbage for babies.
But as far as I'm concerned, it's great fun when you're having some drinks. It's like, kind of like Uno, or at least about as simple as Uno, where you're constantly blocking other players' attacks while laying down your own to whittle away their deck. But the whole premise is cats with super violent 80s action movie weapons, and it's developed by the team behind The Oatmeal, a webcomic. I'm pretty excited about this. It looks pretty good, and it's only $10, which is actually cheaper than the physical card game. There's unfortunately no video, and I can't see who the developer is, but keep an eye out for future updates, because I'm really interested in this and would love to check it out with other citizens, maybe on stream sometime. Moving right along, we've got 4 games that we would recommend under no circumstances, and they are this week's Nindie No-Nos. Ocean Media released a Find the Hidden Object game based on Jekyll and Hyde and called it The Mysterious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for $9.99. So there's that. And Cubite Interactive released War Simulation Casual Math Game for $1.99, which is developed by Yaw Studios. It's a collection of fantasy-based war mini-games where the gameplay is selecting answers in multiple-choice math questions. That sounds fun. And Piotr Skalski is really swinging for the fences this week, asking a whopping $12.99 for Empire Invasion. It's just a garbage tower defense game that only works in touchscreen mode, so it'll sit nicely alongside Piotr's collection of the worst games available on the eShop. However, in their effort to be the absolute bottom of the eShop barrel, PixArts refuses to be outdone with Sudoku Master and Checkers Master for $3 and $5 respectively. Again, these can only be played via touchscreen and are only slightly better than losing a game of Russian roulette. If you can't tell, Exploding Kittens is definitely a pick for me. If I can confirm it's a worthwhile version of the game, maybe we can get a group night going. I'm also curious about Maiden Spell, but what do you think? Let us know in the YouTube comments if there's anything you might pick up, and tell me if you're already a fan of exploding kittens. That sounds horrible. Now, there are a couple decent games popping up this week, but all in all, we've got a bunch of mediocrity on the new release list. There is some good stuff here and there that's worth adding to your wish list though, so let's take a look at the 22 new Nindies for April 11th through the 17th. With a rare Sunday release kicking off the list, Ultimate Games and Morning Shift Studios bring us Hike for $4.99. With about 30 to 90 minutes of gameplay, you just hike around the woods in first person, and yeah, it's a walking simulator in the truest sense. Then moving all the way to Wednesday the 14th, 6 games hit the eShop, and the first of which is Cannon Brawl for $9.99. It's a 2D mix of tower defense, real-time strategy, and that Tank Wars game from way back in the day where you launch mortars at your enemies. What is that game called? Cannon Brawl is developed by Temple Gates, published by Blitworks, and looks a bit pricey, but could be a good candidate for your wish list. East Asia Soft and Ratalaika Games team up again this week to launch Spoonbox Studios' retro action platformer, Kingdom of Arcadia for $5.99. After Sam gets sucked into his dad's arcade cabinet, he must battle his way through 5 side-scrolling Metroid-inspired stages to escape the 8-bit world. There's light RPG mechanics to keep things progressing, and for $6, just might be one that I pick up. Let me know if you want to see this one on Nindies at Night later this week. Nindie newcomer Lovix Sama partners with Turnox to release Reactor X. As yet another sliding block puzzle game, Reactor X brings a sci-fi theme to the pixelated visual style and will be available for $4.99. Okay, check this one out. Isolamus is a freaky 10 to 20 minute horror game that's made entirely of plasticine models and stop-motion animation. It's only $2 and looks like more of a game jam or design school project. It only works in handheld mode and is published by Sometimes You. In a world where almost every week we see a new
Zany multiplayer party game with a gimmick!
we see the release of Night Squad 2, which turns it up to 11 with a
Zany 8-player party game with an absolute load of gimmicks!
The original game was pretty fun if you're sitting in a room with others, and this new one includes the top-down combat that's seen in the original, and adds a ton of other mini-games like sports and capture the flag, and all kinds of 1v7 or 4v4 and other modes that mix up what is pretty solid core gameplay. It's safe to say that this sequel by Chain Awesome Games is probably one of the better options in the genre, so if a
Zany multiplayer party game with a gimmick
is what you're looking for this week, consider Night Squad 2, which launches with a 20% discount for $11.99. PixArts is publishing Park Inc., which asks you to back cars out of congested parking lots for $2.99. My guess is being in a real traffic jam is probably more fun. With nearly a dozen new releases for this week's Big Thursday drop, developer and publisher Chibig kicks the day off with Deiland Pocket Edition for $16.99. It's yet another slice-of-life game, this one having started life as a PC and PS4 title that is now getting a bit of a makeover before making its way to the Switch. Heavily inspired by Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, Deiland uses a spherical world to deliver a perspective similar to the older Animal Crossing entries while introducing some light survival elements. The original didn't set the world on fire with mostly average reviews, but if this type of game is your jam, it might be worth throwing Deiland on your wish list. I'm torn about this next one. Myastere, Ruins of Deazniff, is a Metroidvania developed by Success and Studio Seizensen and published by Digimerse for $19.99. Hey, I have no idea what any of those words mean or if I said any of them correctly, so, you know. On one hand, it's a Metroidvania, or exploration platformer, where you explore as a steampunk scientist with a revolver and a pretty cool grappling hook. On the other hand, the description makes very little sense, there's no video trailer, and for $20 there seems to be a bit too much jank for my tastes. I'll be watching the reviews for this one, and my guess is that by time the video goes live, there's probably going to be a video trailer available, so you might be watching it right now. I'm going to put this one on my wish list just in case, but yeah, let's wait and see. Oh good, we've got a new asset swap out there. Ladies and gentlemen, make note of developer Benjamin Kistler and publisher Kistler Benjamin? Interesting. They swapped demo assets for some textureless shooter and are releasing Team Troopers for $10. Boo this game, boo Benjamin, boo Kistler, and may the Lord of Nindies spare no mercy on their soul as they burn in the fires of shovelware hell. Benjamin, welcome to the list. Here we go. Nindie Newcomers' Overpowered Team are a group of 5 developers based out of Madrid, and their first Switch release is the 3D bullet hell boss rush called Godstrike for $14.99. I swear, for whatever reason, something about the name Godstrike makes me think it'd be even cooler with a totally 80s subtitle. You know, something like
Godstrike, biblical bitch slap,
or
holy headshotter,
or something like that. Anyways, cool premise. It's just boss fights like in Jotun or Fury, and they play out like a twin-stick bullet hell shooter, and then in between bosses, you get to do all the usual customizations and upgrades and all of that. Visuals look good, studio's already got one PC title under their belt, and if all goes according to plan, I'll be checking out this holy headshotter this Thursday on Nindies at Night, so come join us. What's next? Let's see. We've got Throw It Animal Park for $4.59, and developer Tom Create says,
let's throw the animal alone. Let's throw it together. Invite as many animals as you can to the park and make a picture book.
What the hell is this? It's like it just really, you throw zoo animals onto a table and you can throw zoo animals for 10 seconds, or you can throw zoo animals with no time limit. I cover a lot of games and I have no words. I do think that if it was possible to swat someone by sicking PETA on them, that might be appropriate here. That's just a joke, Internet. Don't actually swat people. That's not good. Okay? You're making me use my dad voice. If, like me, you have young children, you may have been exposed to the horrors of children's content in the age of YouTube. Horrible, repetitive bull like Coco Melon and super simple songs and that kind of Well, one of those mother has decided to make a video game, and Pocoyo Party can all the way off with that. Just like how their content claims to be educational but is just cheap, repetitive horse that degenerates your children's brains, this
Stupid
Dear Mario.
multiplayer party game with a gimmick!
is worth no more than the physical weight it takes up in Nintendo's eShop. It doesn't even work in handheld mode, so this is just another way for this brand to consume your TV. And for $29.99, before you let your 3 to 5-year-olds learn video games from Pocoyo and developer RECOTECHNOLOGY, might I suggest a rousing game of, hey, can I eat this? First. Phew! Okay, sorry about that. So we've got another Nindie newcomer this week, Archive Entertainment, and they're releasing one of the most bizarre titles we've seen in some time. Dragon Audit is a light-hearted, movie-length visual novel adventure. You're an accountant that sets off to audit a dragon, and then you rescue a dragon lady from her own castle, I think? The visuals have this primitive 3D anime-inspired style that's really odd, and it launches for $8.99. Cool. Speaking of comedic games, Rain on Your Parade also releases on Thursday and takes heavy inspiration from Untitled Goose Game to deliver its own take on the silly puzzle adventure genre. You pick a stage and then float around as a cardboard cutout cloud and figure out ways to create silly situations to cross off your objectives list, just like Untitled Goose Game. Not a terrible concept, and the genre isn't exactly crowded yet, so we've got room for more of this, I think. Unbound Creations also made Headliner Novi News, which was a fun, ridiculous little game. So this one's probably at least solid, and it hits the eShop for $13.49. Another genre that's been getting more crowded as of late is the side-scrolling horror game. Query8 spreads its wings just a little bit this week and moves down the street from scantily clad anime girl Bonetown and puts said anime girls in a hotel where they livestream their experience running away from a maniacal, murderous mascot pig. So really, livestream Escape from Hotel Izanami is just a grab bag of nope for me, but the premise is kinda clever, and it wraps up the big Thursday drop when it releases for $19.99. 5 new indies drop on Friday the 16th, and the first of the batch is Tribal Pass for $5.59 by Samustai and Shostak Games. Take an endless runner, change the perspective so you're looking down from the top, and set it around a prehistoric theme with a bunch of RPG systems. For $6, I'll probably throw this one on my wish list, because if nothing else, it's at least different, you know? But you know what's not different? Boombit Games releasing another crappy mobile port where you drive from point A to B. And Driving World Nordic Challenge ensures your $12 will be safe to see another day. Similarly, Prison Games puts colors and dots on the screen, called it Colorfall, and suggests it's worth $2.49, but I think we all know better by now, don't we?
Don't we?
So we have this game from Jorge Biedma Aswar that is called Snowball Collections Bubble, but they don't mean snowballs. They mean snow globes. It's actually a really wacky take on Bust-A-Move where you're in this large 3D snow globe and it could be kind of interesting, but I just can't imagine this is going to be the first game by Jorge that really breaks the mold. And not one to break with tradition, the final game of the week is Ratalaika's, and it's called Heal Console Edition, developed by Jesse Makinen, releasing for $6.99. As another entry in Ratalaika's long line of point-and-click adventures, Heal does some pretty experimental stuff with atmospheric storytelling, and the premise itself revolves around aging and dementia, which is something we don't usually explore in video games. Might not be a bad pick for the point-and-click adventure crowd. Snowball. That's such a weird mistake to make, you know? Like, it's the name of the game. Anyways, you see anything this week? I like Godstrike, and Cannon Brawl and Kingdom of Arcadia look pretty interesting too. Let me know if anything's going on your wish list down in the comments. It's a bit of a slower week, I'll admit, but the good news is that the deals are still going strong, and we've got plenty to pick from. And since we haven't seen a trifecta yet, we're probably gonna have to fix that too. With a whopping 906 games currently discounted on the eShop, these are our picks for the 10 best deals through at least April 18th. First up is a deal expiring a bit early, so if you're looking for a Metroidvania, jump on Outbuddies DX before April 16th. Definitely an unsung hero of the genre, Outbuddies starts out a bit obtuse, but by the time you're in the thick of it, you'll find that this game stands alongside the best pixelated Vanias on the Switch. Check it out while it's 65% off for $6.29. Another little title that doesn't get nearly enough love is Mechstermination Force, which is like a 2D version of PlayStation's Shadow of the Colossus. You grab your weapons and set out to take down massive mechs by finding their weaknesses, climbing the behemoths, and taking them down piece by piece. The upgrades and ridiculousness of each encounter keep things fresh, and with a 79% discount, Mechstermination Force is worth taking a chance on as it's only $2.51. For those of you looking for a good story this week, I've got two options for you. First up is This War of Mine Complete Edition, which is 80% off for $7.99. Based on the real-life siege of Sarajevo, this story shows the personal side of war as you play from the perspective of civilians just trying to survive the brutality of war. You'll tend to those close to you during the day, and at night sneak out to find supplies. It's a gut-wrenching story to say the least, and it's got gameplay that is tense and satisfying. As one of the highest rated games on today's list, it's now available at a new all-time lowest price. Plus, for $8, you get a couple of new modes and some DLC packs as well. For something much more lighthearted and a great pick to play with your elementary school-aged kids, Jenny LeClue Detective Ooh is a pretty traditional 2D adventure game that mixes puzzle, narrative, and point-and-click elements into the story of a young girl turned detective out on a quest to clear her mother of the murder that she's been framed with. It's only $4 this week, an 84% discount, and is great for adults and kids alike. Alright, let's do this. Fair warning, we've got some yelling to do. Fury Unleashed is one of those games that I keep recommending because every time I do, one of you tell me how you finally took a chance and fell in love with it. First of all, there's a fully featured demo, so just go try it for yourself. Secondly, it is a side-scrolling run-and-gun with some twin-stick shooting that plays out like a comic book themed around 80s action movies. It's awesome, and it even just received 2 free updates, including entire game modes based around Superhot and Crypt of the Necrodancer. If you listen to Nindie Nation, you need to check out Fury Unleashed while it's half off for $9.99, because if for no other reason, it includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! And so does Moonlighter, one of the games featured in last week's Deals Roundup. Playing as one-half Zelda-inspired dungeon crawler and one-half shop management simulator, Moonlighter does let you skip the shop stuff if you prefer, and delivers a worthwhile action RPG for $6.24 that comes complete with procedurally generated dungeons, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! As does another title from last week's Deals video, and my favorite game of 2019. Children of Morta is yet another that I'll keep recommending as long as people keep picking it up. It takes the top-down action RPG gameplay of Diablo and weaves in one of my favorite narratives in video games all around a roguelike formula. Last week, the team at Dead Mage dropped a massive new DLC for free and made an already remarkable game even better. In fact, I just spent the entire weekend playing through it yet again. Right now, it is also half off, this time for $10.99, and as you already know, Children of Morta includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! As does one more title in today's list. Rad is nowhere near as good as the other 3 just mentioned, but it strips out the story for a fun top-down combat system and crazy mutations that give you perks and abilities unlike most other games in the genre. It's developed by Double Fine, which means it has all of the silliness that you'd usually expect from that team. But I will warn you that this isn't the prettiest or the best performing game out there. It's still fun though, and with a 75% discount, it's worth picking up for a weekend if you got $5 to spare. And if you like it, you'll have plenty to keep you busy, as it also includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. Now that I've woken up my entire household, let's bang through 2 more titles this week, both from developer Atui. Xeodrifter takes everything about Metroidvanias and strips it down to a fast 3 or so hour experience that can easily be beaten multiple times over via New Game Plus in as little as an hour or less. There's 4 worlds to explore and a surprising amount of upgrades and customization available to make the side-scrolling action platformer play just how you want it. It's currently 80% off for only $1.99 and is one of my favorite games to recommend at that price. But if you want a challenge, you want to really put your platforming and puzzle-solving skills to the test, then my friend, you need the Mutant Muds collection while it's 85% off for $2.24. As the highest-rated game on today's list, and one of the highest-rated games from the 3DS, the collection includes Mutant Mudds Deluxe, a remake of the original side-scrolling puzzle platformer, Mutant Mudds Super Challenge, the game that you tackle if you're hungry for more after completing the first, and Mud Blocks, a falling block puzzle game kinda similar to Tetris Attack or Panel de Pawn that is surprisingly fun. The levels are short, and the game in general is great for bite-sized chunks of gameplay, and at just over $2, it's a great addition to just about any Switch. If you saw the Friday Deals video, you've now heard me tell you to buy Moonlighter and Children of Morta twice in the last week alone. So did you? If so, I want to know what you think, and if you're picking any of these up, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Nindie Nation for more indie game shenanigans, and we'd love to have you join us over on Discord too. We extended the Guacamelee Backlog Club just a little bit because there's quite a few people still progressing through the game, and I myself just finished it over the weekend. It is our first time doing this after all. We want it to be a fun experience for everyone, and I suspect that sometime within the next week is when we'll be starting our discussions. If you have any ideas for the next Backlog Club, go ahead and start listing them in the comments or on Discord, and I'll start making the list. New episodes of Nindie Nation drop each and every Tuesday, and for all of you podcast listeners out there, we thank the Nintendo Village for hosting the audio feed. Be sure to check them out for all kinds of great Nintendo content. Of course, we've got Nindies at Night happening over on Twitch, and the group has been growing, so thank you for your support. Stop by this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern to check out some of this week's titles or games on sale that you don't want to miss. Links to everything mentioned are in the description, and please don't forget to click like, subscribe if you haven't, and share us with others who might like some light-hearted indie game discussion. Thanks so much for joining this week. We've got an interesting lineup next week with a game about boomerangs, a new Metroidvania, and a ridiculous amount of embarrassing anime visual novels, so at least they'll be fun to, discuss? Anyways, that's all for next week, and as far as today goes, we're all done here. Until next time, citizens, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 110, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.